Hey guys, so we'll be looking at 2.3. This question focuses on the interpretation of time and different time zones. Originally, when I looked at it, I was like, sure, this is quite a difficult question, but it's a great one to practice because if you can get this right, you're pretty much sorted, right? So let's get going. It says, Miss South Africa 2018, Tamron Green, competed for the Miss Universe title and did South Africa proud by claiming the runner-up title. The contest was held in Bangkok, Thailand. So now, when you see that in a question, you should always be thinking about, okay, they're going to ask me something about time zones. Okay, so the table below shows the flight options she had when traveling to Thailand. So these are different airlines, different prices, number of stops, and different times, right, that the flights went, that she could possibly fly on different airlines. So it says Ethiopian Airlines departs from Johannesburg and has a stopover in Addis Ababa before flying to Bangkok. The flight time from Joburg to Addis Ababa was 5 hours, 15 minutes. Okay. And from Addis Ababa to Bangkok was 9 hours and 1/3, right? 1/3, we need to convert that to minutes possibly to help us figure out what that means, but that's okay. We don't need to do that now. If Miss Africa decided to travel using Ethiopian Airlines, show how the total traveling time given as 18 hours and 5 minutes was calculated. So you might be saying, okay, I don't even see that. So we're over here. Okay, we see that that's what we're trying to figure out, right? But we see that there's one stopover in Addis Ababa, right, which is 3 hours and 30 minutes. So what we are adding is this 5 hours and 15 minutes, this 9 hours and 1/3, and the stop, right? Because you have to add the stop into the full length of time it will take to get from Joburg to Addis Ababa. Okay, or I mean from Joburg to Bangkok, because you go Joburg, Addis Ababa, then you stay in Addis Ababa for 3 hours and 30 minutes, then you fly to Bangkok, right? And that whole time has to be accounted for in her travel. Okay, so we're going to say from Johannesburg to Addis Ababa was 5 hours 15 minutes. And then she in Addis Ababa, she was there 3 hours and 30 minutes. Okay. Then her flight from Addis Ababa to Bangkok was 9 hours. Okay. Right. And now it says this 1/3 hour. So what is 1/3 of an hour? Let's work that out. So 1/3 of an hour, we're going to say 1/3 times 60 minutes. Okay, which equals 20 minutes. If you don't believe me, chuck it in your calculator. But I'm doing that because it's important for us to understand what that means, right? Because a fraction is sometimes difficult to work with when you're working with hours and minutes. Okay, so this is all the different ones we have to add together. So we're going to say 5 hours, 15 minutes, plus 3 hours, 30 minutes, plus 9 hours, 20 minutes. Minutes, I don't know why I keep calling them minutes. So let's just put the hours into our calculator first and do that. Okay, so we're going to say 5 plus 3 plus 9. So we have 17 hours. Okay, perfect. Let's add all the minutes together. 15 plus 30 plus 20. 65 minutes. But we know that there's only 60 minutes in an hour. So we can actually take some of these minutes and put it into another hour. So it's actually 18 hours and 5 minutes. Okay. And the way I did that, I broke it down so that it was more accessible. Instead of trying to do it all at once, right? Rather reason it the way that I did because it's a bit more logical. Well, not necessarily more logical, but it's just more accessible, right? I hope that made sense. It was 5 marks, quite a big question, but not impossible. Okay, let's now move on to the next question, okay? So it says, South Africa is in the GMT +2. I think that's called like Greenwich Meridian Time. I think that's what GMT stands for, +2. So basically, South Africa is 2 time zones ahead of where the Greenwich Meridian is, right? And Thailand is ahead of South Africa in the GMT zone. So basically it's saying, right, GMT is here, right? That's basically where we say GMT is, right? And then you get countries that are on time zones that side and countries in that time zones that side. So South Africa's over here and Thailand is a bit further along. That's basically what it's saying, okay? Then it says, use the information above and your calculation to determine the time zone Thailand falls into. Okay. Oh, it actually gives Greenwich mean time. Sure, I'm lying to you up in here. Okay, so let's go and see what we have. So we know that she would leave at 2:10 p.m., right? And so that's leave. And she would arrive, so she's going to leave SA. And she's going to arrive in Bangkok at 1:15. Is that PM? Let's just check. Perfect, right? 1:15 PM. Okay, so let's figure out how we're going to do this. Okay, so let's see what we can do. So we know that that she left at 2:10 p.m., right? And she traveled for 18 hours and 5 minutes, right? We have that over here, okay? So let's figure out what time then she should technically have arrived if she'd stayed in the same time zone, right? We know she hasn't stayed in the time zone, but let's say she had, what time she should have arrived. So this is important, right? So so if I start at 2 and I move 18 hours, right? So I'm just going to do it on my fingers. You don't have to necessarily do it on your fingers, right? But we know that every 12 hours we repeat a number, right? So if you add 12 to 2, right, we're going to be sitting at 2 a.m. in the morning, 2:10 a.m. in the morning, plus another 6. We are going to be doing, right, if you add another 6 to 2, right, you're going to be sitting at 8:10 a.m. in the morning, and then you're left with this 5 minutes. So it's going to be 8:15 a.m., right? That's what it's going to be if she stayed in the same time zone. But she didn't stay in the same time zone, and she arrived in Thailand 5 hours after we would have expected had she stayed in the same time zone. Now, you might be saying, Margie, where'd you get 5 from? Not a problem, right? We're saying this is if she stayed in the same time zone, but she didn't. This is when she arrived in Bangkok. So we're going to say, well, the time she arrived minus the time that we expected to arrive if she had been in the same time zone, right? We know that 1 is the same as saying 13:15 minus 8:15, which gives us 5 hours, okay? So we know from this that Thailand is 5 hours ahead of South Africa, okay? So it's 5 hours ahead of South Africa. But we know South Africa is GMT plus 2. So if Bangkok is 5 hours ahead of South Africa, we have to add 5. So it's going to be GM plus 7. GMT plus 7. Okay? So importantly here, we're assuming this is the same time zone. Okay? Here we're factoring in the different time zones that have occurred. Okay? So it's important that you understand this is when she left. This is how long she was traveling. This is then the time that she would have arrived had she stayed in the same time zone. But she arrived at this time. That's what we expected. What is the difference? 5 hours, right? Add that to the GMT and you get GMT plus 7. Okay, it's a little bit of a complicated question. It's not an intuitive question, but it is a question that is very good to practice and understand because time zones can be tested, as you can see, but, let's just knock that now. Time zones can be tested, but it's not impossible. It's just something you need to know how to approach and you need to go about it very logically. Okay, let's now do the last question for this question, okay, for 2.3. So it says, Miss South Africa needed to register at the Royal Paragon Hall in Bangkok, 27.9 kilometers away from the airport by 2 o'clock. She took half an hour to get her bags and catch a taxi. The taxi she called traveled at an average speed of 50 kilometers per hour. Okay, we know that we're going to have to use maybe our speed and distance formula. By means of calculations, show that she got there on time if she flew with Ethiopian Airlines. So, we know she landed with Ethiopian Airlines at 1:15. Okay, then she got her baggage. You can just say her bags, right? So we know it's going to be 1:15 plus 30 minutes, right? Because they gave that to us, right? It says half an hour. Half an hour is 30 minutes. So she left the airport approximately at 1:45 p.m. Okay, so she actually only had 15 minutes after collecting her bags, right, to get to the Royal Paragon Hall. So let's figure out how long it would have taken her to get there. So I'm just going to write hall. So she had 27.9 kilometers, right, to travel, but she was only traveling at 50 kilometers per hour. So let's figure out how long it would have taken her to get to the hall, right? How do we do that? We say time equals distance over speed, right? Important to understand this, right? If you don't understand this, go back to your notes, go and look at that speed, distance, and time triangle that we often learn. And this is just a specific example of where to use it. Okay, so we want to work our time. Distance we know is 27.9. Speed is 50. So time is going to be time in hours because we've given speed in hours. Therefore, time is going to be in the same unit. So we can say 27.9 divided by 50. So it's going to be 0.558 hours. Okay. So now you might be saying, well, that doesn't help me so much because what does that actually mean? So let's convert this into minutes. How do we do that? Well, we times it by 60 because there's 60 minutes in an hour, right? So let's do that. Take this answer, times it by 60. It's 33.48 minutes. So she left the airport at that time. She needs this many extra minutes to get to the hall, right? So she'll arrive at the hall. So she'll arrive at the hall at 1:45 p.m. plus 33.48 minutes, right? So we know if we add that on, we're definitely going to be past 2 o'clock, right? Because if we just say, okay, let's take 15 away from that to get to 2. So it's going to be 2 p.m. plus, I'm just going to say 33.48 minus 15 because I've just added 15 there, right, to get to 2. So how many minutes are left? So it's 18.48 minutes. So she's going to arrive at 2:18. You don't have to put I'm just going to say equivalent to between 2:18 and 2:19 p.m. Okay, so that's where she's going to be in between those two times she's going to arrive, right? Just to go through it, this is when she landed, she collected her bags. That's when she left the airport. We figured out how many minutes it would take her from the airport to the hall. We added that onto when she left the airport, right? What I did here is I added 15 to get to 2 p.m., right? I took 15 away from the 33 to get to my 18. That basically tells me that she arrived at the hall between 2:18 and 2:19 p.m. So we're not finished with our answer, right? Our answer is she will be late. Okay, because she was supposed to get there at, what does it say? At 2. No, she's not going to get there on time. She's going to be late. Okay, this is quite an involved question, right? It was definitely quite tricky. Every question had quite a lot to it. I mean, this whole question that we just did was 16 marks, which is over 10% of this paper, but it's a good one to go through and to practice. I hope you found that helpful just as a way of approaching things. Again, it's not the only way to approach it. I'm showing you a way and getting you to think, right? But it's not the only way. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. I'll see you in the next one.